Hello and welcome back. We're back at the farm for our Safari Junior 8 assembly video on our trailer platform. We have Sean, Steven, and today Parker will be giving us a hand. And of course Max, our border collie, is always a big help. So we've got all our connectors laid out, holes, materials. So let's get started mounting them. We start at the very rear on the corner brackets. So Sean's mounting an L bracket on the two rear brackets. I'm going to turn it around and show it to you. He will mount these on the corners right at the top of the four joists. Now we only put one lag screw in each side of all our platform connectors. The reason for that is we'll have to take them back off when we put our tent mud flap on. So let's mount the rest of our platform connectors. So we've got all our connectors mounted to the platform. I want to go over a couple different ways of putting the upright posts down. Now first we have these pole stake connectors, and ideally you want to drive these down, and that would make the strongest platform. And how we do that is we take a shorter pole, one man will hold the pole and the other one with a soft mallet and pound it down. But we're not going to do that on this one. And the alternative to that is we usually leave the upright poles down below the connector about 6 inches or so. Now on a trailer platform that'll give you mobility to move it around. So we cut a story stick to set the height of our upright poles or to mark them where they're going to be cut off. The story stick is cut, in this case at 61 inches from the finished floor according to the assembly instructions. With the upright pole at the correct height, Sean will secure it with the lag screw through the connector. When using the pole stake connectors, the upright poles would be long and we'd be cutting them off at the height of the story stick. So let's get the rest of our upright poles set to the right height and secured. So with all of our upright poles set and secured, we'll set an M2 connector or rafter connector on top of the upright pole, put a purling in, set the next connector, and repeat the process and go all the way around. We'll use story sticks to maintain the correct distance between the connectors and then secure the purlins. The assembly manual will have a measurement for a lag placement on the rafters. We'll measure from the top of the rafter, in this case 53 inches, and we'll drive a lag in at that measurement, leaving it stick out about an inch. The reason for this will come clear in just a moment. Now we'll slide our rafter in through the connector up to the lag that we placed. This will hold all the rafters in the correct position so we can place the ridge connectors. When setting the ridge connectors, we'll put our ridge purlins in the same way we did the sides. We'll use a story stick to get everything secured. We'll mark and install the ratchets on our purling extensions on the ground, measuring 4 inches from the end on the smaller ones and 2 inches from the end on the ridge extension. Next, we'll install ratchets about 4 inches from the end on all our rafters. Place our purlin extensions in the connector and leave them loose, as they will be at a slight angle with the roof. We'll install our ridge extensions and secure them. Now we're ready to install our roof. Sean will carry the roof up the ladder and set it on top of the ridge. On our larger tents, these roofs can get quite heavy. He'll then start unrolling it past the strap to Parker, where he will secure it in the ratchet. Parker will tighten the ratchet until the roof seam is over the center of the rafter. Then Sean will start unrolling the roof, and Parker will leapfrog around Sean, continue to leapfrog around each other until the roof is unrolled and ready to be tightened up in the front ratchet. We'll tighten the ratchet so that all the roof seams are centered over each of the rafters. We need to go back and tighten up the rear ratchet until the roof is centered and tight. Once you have the roof tight, start unrolling it towards each side. We'll tighten up on the purling extensions first until the roof seams and the straps are centered over each of the rafters. Next, we'll start tightening up the ratchets on the ends of each of the rafters, centering the roof seams over the ridge and each of the purlins. We'll get the roof fairly tight, but we'll wait a day and let it stretch out before tightening it up. The roof will come with some smaller ratchets and some plastic rollers. These are for the cords that will tighten up the seams at the front and rear of the roof. When I pull on the cord, it tightens up the loop at the ridge. Sean will undo the roof strap and install the roller so that the loop will go around it seamlessly. Next, we'll install the smaller ratchets at the ends of the rafters. We'll tighten the cords from both sides, which will tighten the edge of the roof. We'll do the same in the rear of the tent. We can now start putting our steel tent poles together. We'll have 3 long poles and then 4 shorter poles for the front and rear of the tent. We can now start laying our tent out and get it oriented correctly. It's important to make sure your platform is clean before spreading your tent out. Next, we'll slide the tent poles through the sleeves on each side and at the center ridge of the tent. With all of our steel poles installed, we're ready to hang our tent. We have some small pulleys and rope that we'll pull our tent up with. Sean will get some cinch straps in place, making sure you're pulling down when tightening up the tent. He uses a spacer block of 5 inches to get the correct height on the tent from the ridgepole. Once the center of the tent is hung and all the cinch straps are in place, it's time to raise the sides. We'll install our cinch straps and leave them loose until we get the mud flap in, making sure that we're going to be pulling down when we tighten up the tent. When both sides of the tent are hung loosely in the cinch straps, it's time to put the tent poles in the front and the rear. We'll install the cinch straps loosely again until we get the mud flap attached to the platform. Now we're ready to start installing our mud flap. We've laid our aluminum strips out between the connectors. Next, we'll slide the aluminum strip into the sleeve on the inside of the mud flap. We'll do this all the way around the tent. Now that we have all of our aluminum strips in, we can start installing the mud flap. The reason we only put one leg in each side of the connectors and we left all the cinch straps loose is because the mud flap has to go behind the connectors. If we were using the pole stake connectors, we can simply unbolt the connectors and slide the mud flap behind. But in this case, we'll have to hold the pole up with the jack and then unbolt the connectors. We'll start in the two rear corners. Sean will remove the lag bolt on each side of the connector and then work the corner behind the connector. We'll work each rear corner, making sure that each tent seam is at the corner of the platform. When both corners are correct, it's time to secure our mud flap and then resecure our connectors. When using 2x8 joists, the bottom of the mud flap will go right to the bottom of the joist. But in this case, we're using 2x6s for this small tent. Sean has made a spacer block, in this case 1 3/4. He'll use this to get the correct spacing. Then we'll drill through the aluminum strip with a self-tapping screw to secure the mud flap. Then we can reattach our connector. With the rear of the mud flap secured, it's time to work our way up each side. We'll put a self-tapping screw about every foot or so, and that'll help keep the critters out. Then we'll work the mud flap behind the front connectors and then reattach them. Now it's time to work our way around and tightening all the cinch straps to tighten up our tent. This is when orienting our cinch straps to pull down and tighten really pays off. And there you have it. It's taken us about 4 hours to assemble our Woody Safari Junior 8, and that includes assembling the furniture. You have a few different options for furniture for the Safari Junior 8. First one here is 2 twin beds, a couple of benches, and a nightstand in between. We offer a narrow twin bed which will allow for a small wardrobe between the 2 beds. Next we have a queen bed with 2 nightstands on either side. In another video we'll show you how to install a P-TAC HVAC unit under the window in the side of the tent. Thanks for watching this assembly video for our Woody Safari Junior 8.